Hi, good evening. Let us discuss about 27th June 2015 newspaper. The first article is related to the baseline profitability index. So here, on what basis this index is? The first thing is generation of revenue. To what extent an asset value is increasing in India? And next is once the asset value is increased, the retention or preservation of the value. That is the value is going to erode or not? And then profits arrived, to what extent they can be repatriated to their country. That is ease of repatriation or ease of taking the money back home. On these three factors, this baseline profitability index was constituted, and India was declared as the first. And based on this, it shows that the profitability of a particular investment is high in India. What are the reasons of this high placement of India over US, China? So one is the growth prospects of India has improved, as stated by IMF and also by the World Bank. And second thing is the corruption levels, they have decreased in India. This index also has taken the local factors such as corruption and investor protection into consideration. So as per the corruption perception index, we have into 85th position out of 175 countries. So that is one thing in 2014. And next is World Bank's investor protection index is also taken into consideration, which is India relatively better placed. So from this perspective, the local factors in India are more favorable towards the investment and profit towards the investors. And the confidence of the people, our exchange rates, our local partners, and the confidence of the investors in the local partners, financial stability, all these factors have played a greater role for the India's position over here. And next is the gay rights in America. The Supreme Court of America has gave a landmark judgment. As of now, the 36 states, they legalize the gay marriages in the United States. But however, this particular judgment in Oberge fell versus Hodge, Oberge fell versus Hodge's case. What the Supreme Court declared is, according to the 14th Amendment of the United States of America, the right to marriage equality is under the part of the equality. So, there is a popular statement given by the Judge Anthony Kennedy. What said is, no union is more profound as than the marriage, because it has got highest respect and highest ideals of love, devotion, etc. So, based on this, the marriage equality was provided for the gays. So, in this context, the sexual behavior, the equality with regard to the sexual behavior and its identity was provided in the United States, in all the states. This is a improvement. And if you see in India, so recently, if you can recollect the article, a private member bill was introduced by an MP from Tamil Nadu, which has provided for the similar rights towards the homosexuals. And also, it has provided certain affirmative action towards the homosexuals for the historical injustices. And it says that welfare boards have to be constituted. And Tamil Nadu and West Bengal already has the welfare boards for these sexually marginalized people. The next thing is the Freight Corridors. It is an infrastructure project. So we have discussed about the policy paralysis in India. The major reasons being civil society activism and the delay in forest or delay in environmental clearances, land acquisition, and failure of decision making at the highest level of the organization. The major reason for the major outcome of this policy paralysis is increased cost overruns. Now, the dedicated freight corridor is a typical example for this, where the cost overruns has increased from 28,000 crores to around 81,000 crores from 2008 when the project was conceived to today. Now, it was expected that the project will be completed by 2018-19. Now, in this context, what are the major challenges over here? And let us know something about this project. There are Eastern Corridor and Western Corridor. The Eastern Corridor, it runs from Ludhiana in Punjab to the all the way to the West Bengal. So that is it is Dankuni in West Bengal. And next is the Western Corridor. It runs from Navasheva, the Jawaharlal Nehru Port Terminal, to the all the way to Delhi. That is just outside Delhi, close to Haryana. So this is what is the Eastern and Western Corridor, sir. So what are the major advantages of this? Now, if you simple example is like this. Now, Delhi to Mumbai, the freight travel of the freight is taking more than 2 days. Now, it will reduce to less than 24 hours. And the second thing is the existing railway lines are more available for the passenger trains. It means the quality of passenger train services can be improved. And the cost of operations also will decrease along with the efficiency. Almost they will come down by 40%. And India major businesses, the problem with regard to profitability in Indian business is lack of infrastructure. It will provide for the logistical support to the necessary exports, etc., which will provide or improve the Indian export scenario. So these are the advantages we can talk about. But however, so infrastructure projects we need to take forward with a clarity, and policy planners has to look into this particular bottlenecks. Because almost India already has lost more than 2 lakh crores of rupees in delays related to the delays related to the infrastructure projects. So this need to be urgently addressed. And next is the Moody's smart cities and his vision of the smart cities. Now there is a clear difference over here. Let us, before going into this, understand about the American system of urbanization and European system of urbanization. You know, European system of urbanization, it has an ancient civilization, but urban system, it was a planned thing where a business center will be created and satellite places will be created, which will be used as the residencies of the people. Now, among this process of urbanization, the cost of transport to the centralized city will be very high, and it highly demands on the connectivity between the satellite towns and the center, that is the metropolis. Now the second problem over here is the rich and poor, they are institutionally separated from each other, or the disparities are glaringly remarkable between the places where the upper class, middle class and the working class reside. So it means that the civic culture in the society do not bring in a mix of cultures and mix of living over there. But on the other hand, the European societies our cities are been built on something called as civic mix, where people from different classes they engage with each other, and a kind of civilizational strength is visible in the building of the cities of Europe. Actually, if you believe over Chandigarh, it is built on this Anglicist European model, that is UK and the European model. Now, this model is called a mixed income pattern, where the access towards the community resources or community infrastructure and institutions, the government institutions, is made equal for each and everyone. So it brings in a kind of social integration. But however, in this American model, the institutionalization of disparities between the rich and poor, it is clearly visible. It means the ghettos where the poor people live, the lavish gated communities where the rich people live. So these particular disparities are clearly visible. And the civic communities themselves, when confined to the people, the particular gated communities. On the other hand, the ghettos, they suffer from the civic amenities, and also the urban penalties will be maximum. On the other hand, you can see these slums rapidly expanding in India due to rural-urban migration. So in this context, the lack of sufficient focus on these particular fringe areas, it is going to create damages to the urban civic life in the long run. And the second thing is the bottom-up approach of planning. Yes, it was practiced, or it was put into implementation in Delhi. So in this context, the resident welfare associations are given the authority to make the decisions. Finally, it has led to a very compartmentalization of the development of that particular city. So in this context, the smart cities plan has to be more made citizen-centric, and also a mix of urban poor and also the rich people, where the mutual dependencies can lead to the growth of the economy and also create a so-called vibrancy in the livability of the urban cities. The next is education. So if you observe in India, once which was a knowledge center, it is no more contributing to the knowledge generation in India. The major reason being the poor quality of education. Especially from the Nehruvian era, all the institutions, either it is nuclear energy or if you take about historical research, everywhere Nehru has handpicked the heads of these organizations to create and to build these organizations. The Homi Baba and all these people, the Vikram Sarabhai, all these people were handpicked by the Nehru to make these institutions as the part of the nation building. And now such a impetus is absent for the existing leadership. And the quality of education is coming down, especially there is a rapid expansion of the higher education. As the middle class has increased in India, their primary focus is on the education. Due to pressure from this middle class, there is a rapid expansion of the education, especially the universities and colleges with a little focus on the quality. And the human resources deficit is clearly visible in these new institutions created. On the other hand, the governance of these institutions, it is primarily bureaucratized in India with the UGC, All India Technical Council, etc. They are maintaining the huge control over them. So in this, there is no scope for innovation or academic centricity in these particular institutions. So there was a book written by Shailendra Mehta, Why the Harvard University is the number one. So he pointed out to the governance as the first factor which made the Harvard the number one. So the improvement of the governance automatically improve the research tradition in our universities and also provide for a better the student livability and knowledge accumulation in the universities. Next is India traditionally, if you see higher education versus primary education, it has focused the finances more towards the higher education. Unlike this, all the developed countries, they have given the primary education greater impetus over the higher education. So, primary education acts as a resource pool towards the higher education. If the quality is not good over here, automatically it is going to suffer. So, in this context, the Japanese model, where after the Second World War it has specifically focused on strengthening of the primary education. So, it is very much important in the society. The Japan's wealth today, it is totally dependent on this strengthening of the education system over here. So here a beautiful statement was given, that is ideas of Swaraj. So what are these ideas of Swaraj are? So what it says is the political independence, whatever the liberties, equalities we are talking, they are do little or they don't mean much unless the education is strong in the country. The education has to provide for the cognitive means, to understanding of good and bad in the society, ethnical sensibility, understanding of the diversity of the country, and also the history of this nation. So the historical understand, ethnical sensibility, and cognitive means of understanding good and bad. Unless these three things are being developed by the education, the liberties we are talking about, or political independence we are talking about, has a little meaning to the people. So the quality education has to be improved. And another thing is, the recent appointments of the NDA government to various institutions has become compromised, and the party and politics are becoming important rather than the institutions in India, which is seen as a retrogressive step. And the next is Forest Rights Act. Now this is the most important article and the part of our syllabus. So under the Forest Rights Act, now there are individual rights and community rights. Now what is the procedure established is, the Grama Sabha will examine the claims, the individual claims and the community claims over the resources. And then it will be forwarded to the respective authorities with valid documents. If authority rejects this, he has to provide for a valid reason for this rejection. So the Grama Sabha was given the central function with regard to these rights. Now, if you see the Forest Right Act, so in its implementation, most of the state governments have given away that particular right towards the forest department. The forest bureaucracy has a self-interest which was given the perspectives of implementation of this act. It has a self-interest in not implementing this act. So the individual rights, that is giving claims towards the land for the tribal people living over that particular 3 generations, it is going it is well implemented relatively. But with regard to the community rights, the progress is very low. For example, forest status of the forest report 1999, it says that more than 32 million hectares, it is the land which is forest land inside the revenue village boundaries. It means that the communities are dependent on this particular land for their livelihood. So it can be eligible for recognition as a community forest resource. So 32 million hectares can be recognized as the community forest resource because these forests are within the revenue village boundaries. But however, only till date, as for the Ministry of Tribal Department, just 73,000 hectares was recognized as the community forest resource. That is what is the dismal state of implementation of the community rights under the Forest Rights Act. So in this context, if we want to take forward this law effectively, a joint action by the civil society, tribal communities, and the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and state, local and district administration shall collectively act. The major reason is the district and local administration has no clarity with regard to the implementation of the various provisions of this act. So this is about the Forest Rights Act. Thank you very much.